Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Matt Breske from the Intuitive Mind Solutions, and I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Adrian Larrain.
Hi.
And Joshua Baudewijns, counselor of psychology.
Hi.
And today we have a very special guest, somebody who I got to meet last year, which was really a cool experience. He was able to adjust me as well, which was really a benefit for me because I needed it. And we're here with Dr. Tom Preston, everybody. Welcome, Tom.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Adrian, Josh, nice to have you guys bright and early in the after night for you guys.
Yeah.
The after night, yes. But we're very excited to have you because I've looked into your program quite a bit, and I think it's great what you're doing for people out there in the world. And we just are here to spread the word on what you're doing. So everybody, after the call, in the notes after it, in the comments, will be the website links to his programs as well. And it's www.fullcirclecoachingandconsulting.com, correct?
It is. It's a mouthful, but once you put it in once, you can have it in your history forever.
That's good. Our emails are the same, so I get that.
Yeah.
You have to have an intuitive mind to type in the email.
Yeah.
So if you want to just go into it, we'll give you the mic here to go into it and tell everybody that's listening about your programs, and just tell everybody what you do.
Yeah, well, thanks for that, man. I appreciate what you guys are doing to spread the word. We certainly have a mission to help people, and our mission is relatively straightforward. It's to awaken individuals to the power of their authentic expression and help them realize their fullest potential, both personally and professionally. So that's our mission, and largely we work in the healthcare space, particularly with docs and chiropractors, particularly because that's my background, as you know. And really, what I know to be true, Matt, is that there is an intelligence in the universe that chiropractic we often refer to as universal intelligence, and there's a subset of that within us called innate. And my contention is, my offering is that innate intelligence wants to, needs to, chooses to express itself in its most pure form. Because what I found early on in my consulting career, which I've been doing now for almost 25 years, is that there was a lot of people that were doing things and buying into other people's dreams and other people's values and other people's opinions and other people's goals and other people's priorities, and then beating the little crap out of themselves for not accomplishing whatever it was in their life. And the essence of that is that the true essence of who they were, what we call your most authentic self, didn't want to accomplish that because it wasn't true for them. It wasn't organic for them. It wasn't authentic for them. Right? And so literally our program has 4 pillars to it: vision, focus, systems, and team. And so this is why we coach people from all different entrepreneurial walks of life, not big business so much because they move too damn slow, but entrepreneurial space, small business people, because that model applies to anybody. So we start out always with what their vision is for their life and their business, their authentic vision. And a lot of times we got to pry through several layers of crap to get down to what's truly unique and authentic for that human being. What is it that their soul, if you will, wants to express, right? Once we get through that, the focus pillar is all the what's in the way, right? Because my contention is that innate intelligence doesn't need any help from me or anybody to express itself. Zero. It's programmed for success, just like the human body's programmed for health, as long as nothing interferes with it, right? So, but the stuff interferes with it. And so what is that stuff? Is it limiting beliefs? Is it fears? Is it undeveloped skill sets, undeveloped communication pathways, lack of leadership? I mean, there's just a plethora of stuff that could be underneath that pillar. As we move through this, we start looking at the systems that would support that vision, and we look at the team that would support that vision. Because again, we work with people that are doing 7 figures a year and people that are doing 80,000 a year. And neither one of those is a bigger or lesser success, in our opinion, as long as they're doing it their way. But the systems and team you need to support most 7-figure businesses are quite a bit different than an 80,000 a year business, right? So that's why, again, it all starts with the vision. And obviously I'm laying out a pretty linear sort of model here, but it's not linear, right? It's holographic. But it's easier for me to describe if I lay it out, linearly, right?
Yeah.
So again, that's kind of the nickel tour through, what we do and why we do it. How we do it is through our different programs, we've got, two sort of main streams. One is in a group format, and the other one is one-on-one. Some of it is done live. A lot of it is done virtually over Zoom or different platforms. Email and different communication pathways like Marco Polo and all kinds of different apps that we use to communicate. But bottom line is to get really clear about who the human being is, what it is at their core that they want to express, where they are now, and what that gap is between where they are and where they want to go, right? And once we get that and we get crystal clarity, and then we'll spend as many weeks or months as it takes to get that clarity, because once we do, it's just a cascade phenomenon, right? And now we can work our way backwards, reverse engineer basically from that certainty back to where they are, and literally lay out the steps, what they need to do in space and time to go through that underneath the focus systems and team other aspects once we get the vision in place. So we usually start out, Matt, on the short-term vision, because it's like building a home. It's really tough to put if you don't have a foundation or something to base it on, it's hard to build a story up and then put a roof on, right? So we start out short-term, like 6 to 18 month vision, and then we can build on top of that 3 to 7 year and 7 to 15 year and move on from that. Our average client's with us about 3 years. Although we've had some people with us for a year and they got what they needed and the way they went. I had one client with me for 11 years, because every time we built a new layer, there was like a new door open for him, right? And it was like, damn, this is possible and that's possible, and we just kept working our way through. So we take a team approach to coaching. That used to be me and a part-time virtual VA, but we now have a team of 11 of us. So we have a full-time admin trainers.
Wow.
We have our coaching team. We have our marketing people. It's hell, you might even call it a business now instead of a one-off pop shop, So and we have a lot of fun doing what we're doing. I always figure that several minds are better than one relative to coming up with solutions for things. So that's why we take the team approach. So that's the Nickel Plus Tour.
Wow, that's awesome. I got some good questions now. I mean,
we're happy to answer them.
I think that's more than a nickel tour. That's kind of maybe 50 cents at least. That's pretty. But okay, so I have a few questions, and I guess the barriers I think people are having that is to find their authenticity, and that's where culture has kind of created this for people. So I imagine you have a lot of layers in people's conditioned life, and I can imagine it gets emotional. I can imagine it gets a little messy.
It sure can.
Yeah. So how do you keep care of yourself when you're dealing with the stories of other people and you're going through that shit with them?
Well, a great question. So my day starts out and has started out very similarly for more than a decade, Matt. And I mean, which involves me getting literally ready for my day so I can be the best version of me I can be. So I can be the best father, I can be the best husband I can be, the best coach I can be, the best businessman I can be and stuff, right? So I invest a notable amount of time in the proactive preventative side, so that if I get the shit kicked out of me through the day, it takes more to knock the stuff out of me, right? So that's my morning rituals, I call them, right? And I'm extremely dedicated to this, like OCD about this, right? Those first few hours of the day are Tom time, right? Where I can fill my cup, I can fill me to the point where I can then give to others. Because my experience, Matt, is that most people in the service industries, in entrepreneurship in general, they want to give and give and give and give so much to other people, and they're servants, they're service-oriented mindsets, and I think that's amazing. But they want to like give through a fire hose, but they're receiving through a freaking straw. Right? And what I'm referring to that is, and I believe that the universe, the physical universe, not the spirit side, the physical universe is set up in a binomial, right? You understand cold because you know hot. You understand, light because you see dislike. You understand, dark because you see light, right? So give and receive are really just, two sides of the same coin, in my opinion. So you want to give more, you got to be willing to receive more. And the binomial on receiving is self and other, right? So that's letting other people serve you and love you and take care of you, as well as you look after yourself, right? So my morning rituals, Matt, are all about me serving me, giving to me so I can give more to others. And that involves everything from morning meditation time to, I'm a big student of Taoist Tai Chi and yoga, as well as some form of physical exercise, either endurance or strength. And that's my first couple of hours of literally every day. And I'm actually really proud of this because I can be hard on myself too. I haven't missed a day, Matt, in over a decade.
Wow.
Rain, shine, traveling somewhere, speaking somewhere, whatever I'm doing, that's my grounding rod. That's my piece that allows me to be who I am.
What time do you wake up in the morning?
I'm an early morning guy. I'm a probably 5:30 on average. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in the process of winding my wake up time down because of that the productivity you can get in those mornings. And I'm a night owl type of guy. I get, that's why this for us is, me and Josh worked into the service industry. So it's a difficult thing to switch from the night schedule to the morning getting up, but we know its benefit, and that's awesome. And that's a motivation for me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and my mom tells a story that I was always just wired that way, Matt. So maybe it's a little bit easier for me. And she used to, I think my mother loved me, but catch this. Imagine this, right? As a parent, because I'm a parent of 5 daughters. Because I was a 5:30 guy, even as a little youngster, my mom would make a bottle, like a formula bottle, and a peanut butter sandwich, for God's sakes. And she'd put that at the end of my crib. So when I got up, I'd eat the peanut butter sandwich, drink the bottle, go back to sleep until 7-ish when she thought it was okay to get up. I can't imagine doing that to a 1-year-old kid. Jesus, Moses and Mary. You'd choke and be, she'd come in and I'm stone cold dead. But I think she loved me. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Was the sandwich, I imagine, was delicious. and she trusted that you would be fine.
I'm trusting that because apparently I'm still here, and I don't know, peanut butter sandwiches are kind of passé today because there's so many apparently allergies to it. But anyways, back in those days, I didn't know anybody who had a peanut allergy. So
yeah, whatever. Maybe we'll draw that in our controversy card.
Yeah, maybe so.
Josh or Adrian, you got any questions?
I got questions.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, they're quite general, but for me it's important, so I can grab a little of the coaching course that you I saw on your page. So, what is the most common thought pattern that stands in the way of success?
Good general question. We have 3 hours, right? Is that what I have? You know what? I would say, Josh, just going off of experience, that probably the most common one is some version of what I would call a limiting belief, right? Somebody that bought into somebody else's version of success, or someone else who bought into somebody shooting them, in my opinion, a line of BS that said that you're not enough. Right? Mm-hmm. You're the wrong skin color. You're the wrong sexual persuasion. You're too this. You're too that. You're not enough of this. Right? And so people buy into that nonsense as youngsters, young people, in my experience, and that carries with them, throughout their life. Right? So then they get to an adult version of self, which is where I commonly, obviously, meet them, and they're, who am I to, fill in the blank. Who am I to run a successful business? Who am I to grow my business? Who am I to make, fill in the blank, 100,000 a year, $1 million a year, whatever the number is, right? But it all comes back to that self-doubt, that limiting belief that they have what it takes to do that. And my stock answer, guys, is that, one of my friends says it this way: God doesn't make any junk, right? We are literally programmed for success. It was born into us. It's part of the essence of who we are, not just our genetic makeup. I mean, the essence of who we are, right? And as long as we're clear about what it is that really makes us tick, what is it that really juices us up, what is it that's authentic for us, right? Because again, the other piece which is kind of tied to that, Josh, in my experience, is there's so many people that are doing things that they're really not inspired to do. They're just, it's not, again, to use the word again and again and again, gentlemen, authentic, right? Yeah. Buying into somebody else's version of what success looks like. I got a dear friend who runs a very successful car dealership. He really wanted to be an architect. He's in his early 50s and he's basically burnt out, right? Because he just, this is not what he really would love to do with his life. So, yeah. Did I answer your question, Josh?
Yeah, you answered it, and it's still something I struggle with today. So, but it's very clear. Thank you. And I have another question. It's even more general. What is the first and most important piece of advice you would give to a newbie on the way to success?
Well, I would say, again, clear away the debris that is not, your authentic self. But let me just dial into one specific activity, Josh, right? Because I'm a student of the Tao Te Ching, right? And in the very first stanzas of the Tao, they say that, the Tao that can be named is not the true and eternal Tao, right? So if we're truly a part of that essence, that Tao, that intelligence, the matrix that is in the universe, that to try and actually name it, you immediately limit it, right? So to truly define someone's essence, we limit it. But the best tool that we found to bring into space and time the essence of who someone is a core values analysis, right? So an action step I would offer, Josh, would be for people to go and do a core values analysis to get really clear about who they authentically are. It's not a perfect tool, but it's a great tool. And it's one that we use. And we get people to do it very, very early in our programs, because once we're crystal clear about their values and who they are, now we use that as a litmus test for everything that they say and everything they do, right? So like a very common question, our coaching team will ask somebody, say, so Josh, tell me how that serves your values, right? And many times people go, they don't know because they haven't thought it through. And many times, if they can't see how it fits their values, it's because it doesn't. And because they're buying in again to somebody else's visions and dreams and goals. And so therefore it's not authentic. And the probability of doing that is really small. I've got actually a talk that I do, Josh. It's called Procrastinate Your Way to Success. Because I believe that everybody should procrastinate on things that are not truly authentic for them, right? Things that aren't connected to their values and that are really at their core, just procrastinate on that. Don't do that shit. Delegate it out. Give it to somebody else. Or for God's sakes, just stop doing it. Because there's only so much time in a day, so much time in a week, so much time in a lifetime to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Stop doing it. Procrastinate. Please procrastinate on all the things that aren't authentic for you. And your core values is really an exercise that can help dial into what it is that's authentic for you, Josh.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
That's good info.
Perfect. Adrian, you got a question for me?
Yeah, I have. So I have the privilege to be a student of Tom and Coach Fraser. Was eye-opening for me mostly on the abundance mindset at that moment. I mean, really like a big slap in my face. And
I got it too.
Still worked on the still working today. I still remember the lessons, so it's really cool. My questions are: do you still practice in chiropractic office or not?
No, I sold my last practice in 2002, Adrian.
Okay.
So I have I still see a few people every week out of the family room, right? But that's a hobby. It's not
okay. Yeah. And
but I tell you what, sorry, just a quick, I don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, go.
I got great hands, man. I got great hands. I'm a great adjuster, and I don't want to lose that skill. So I make sure I keep up with it by just checking my family. And those few people that I still look after.
Okay. Good.
I'll be asking you again next time I see you. So I'll keep you fresh.
I appreciate that feedback, Matt.
Yeah.
I'll be asking you, Matt.
Yes.
My question: did you start the consulting, this consulting business at the same time you were a chiropractor?
Yeah. No, I started my consulting business about 3-ish years before I retired, Adrian.
Okay.
So that was I started consulting in like late 96, early 97.
Okay.
And again, it wasn't like a divination process, gentlemen, when I started consulting. It was literally people just saw how I was choosing to build my business and live my life. And they said, well, it was basically my version of success, my definition of success, which is the only one that matters for me, guys, is mine, which is the only one that should matter for you is yours, right? But my definition of success was taking 10 to 12 weeks of holidays a year, working about a 25 to 27 hour work week and making a 6-figure salary. And some people said, well, how the hell do you do that? So I was consulting long before I hung a shingle up, because people were calling me. I'd go speak somewhere and I'd get phone calls, like, in the pre-internet days, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So then one day I had a very, very, very busy practice. I had my 5 daughters, and I was doing all these phone calls for people. And finally I said to a guy one day, I said, I'd really love to help you. I said, I just don't have time. I'm so sorry. I'm out of integrity with other things that I value. And he goes, well, I could pay you. And I'd been a serial entrepreneur for the time. I was a 6-year-old kid selling greeting cards door to door. I said, shit, okay, let's have a conversation. And then I literally had to create the entire model that I worked through. And that 4-pillar model I spoke about earlier, vision, focus, systems, and team meeting, I developed that because I actually it was great exercise for me, because I had to stop and realize how I had done what I'd done. And I realized there was a model I'd worked from, so I put the structure together, and it's the same model I've been using ever since I started consulting. If I ever find a better model, I'll change it. I just haven't found a better model yet.
Okay.
I find it to be apropos.
Yeah, that's great. So my question was, how did you manage to having the chiropractic office and starting the consulting business at the same time?
Yeah, it's a great question, because whenever you're doing a new startup, right, there's always a learning curve and there's always time. So what I did, Adrian, is I really limited it to I only had 4 clients that my first year. Okay. Right. So I only had 4 clients. So I was really putting together the model, and I was putting together the structure and, the systems and so on and so forth. So I just kept it really small, and I kind of worked out the bugs. And then, because my background's in healthcare and chiropractic, and there is a misguided perception in the world that chiropractors have something to do with low back pain. And I was the chiropractor with the bad back, right? From my many years of misguided youth and some extracurricular activites that shall not be named. But if you saw my x-rays, they look like shit, quite frankly. I've got iatrogenic L5S1 spondylo. I have absolutely no disc left at L5. I have very little disc at T10, T7, and C5. So, I got beat up playing hockey as a kid, right? And so I was paying a little bit of the price for that. So literally it was, I have a saying on one of my T-shirts for my retreats that I do. It says, the universe is always conspiring to support me, right? And the universe was conspiring to support me because about the time that I started consulting was about the time my back got really, really, really bad. Okay. Right? And I'm getting checked 3-4 times a week by my chiropractic colleagues. I'm seeing energy healers. I'm seeing Reiki therapists. I'm seeing massage. I'm seeing naturopaths. I'm doing everything I thought possible. And I was getting worse. Right. And so I started to cut my hours in my chiropractic practice while I built up my consulting business. Okay. Right? Because the thing that hurt me more than anything was adjusting and bending over the tables all day. Yeah. So it was like, you know what? My wife says I'm stubborn. I just say I'm determined, But I lived with unrelenting low back pain every waking minute of my life for 3.5 years. Wow. And then finally I said, I can't do this anymore. I hit the wall, and I chose to step out and consult full time. Okay.
That's quite a story. Yeah.
It is. And by the way, you know what? I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Unrelenting low back pain every minute of every day of your life is not fun. It really is. It changes people.
And especially when you're helping people for low back pain, it's the worst.
Yes. Well, it was interesting. My practice was probably not your typical chiropractic practice, because I had a lot. It was 30% pediatrics. I saw a lot of families. It was much more wellness based. My PVA was over 200. So people came and they usually stayed, right? So it was a different type of practice, but apparently there was, there is a cultural meme that says the chiropractor has something to do with low back pain. So it was comical that, the plumber with the leaky toilet, the chiropractor with the bad back, whatever, right? But it all happened for a reason, and that reason served me, and that's really the key. Because now indirectly, guys, I see thousands and thousands of people a week indirectly through our client base versus the hundreds they used to see as a chiropractor, right? So it's all just not better or worse. It's just different scales of economy.
That pain served you, and you took you saw the opportunity in there. So great, for sure. Good for you.
Yeah, on that. Appreciate that feedback.
The other question is, if you have a consulting business and a coaching business, who coaches you then?
Yeah, great question. I've had some coaches that I've had on and off over the years, Adrian. So one of my great mentors in life is somebody you may be aware of, Dr. John DeMartini. Been a great mentor in my life. My current coach is a gentleman out of Toronto. His name's Dan Sullivan. It's a company called Strategic Coach. So that's who I'm currently with. And it's one of the metrics for all of our coaches. Our coaches must be coached in order to be a coach, right? It just would seem kind of hypocritical to not have that as part of the process, right?
Yeah. Dr. Dan is good.
Yeah.
Went to college with him.
Oh, sorry, not Dr. Dan Sullivan, just Dan Sullivan. He's same name, just not a doc. He's
so different.
He runs a company called Strategic Coach, which is he's been doing this for 47 years. He's in the entrepreneurial space in North America. He's pretty legendary. Helped a lot of entrepreneurs do more with what they have to work with, basically.
Okay. Yeah. Never heard the name. So. Yeah. Okay. Good.
So everybody listening, get a coach. Dr. Tom has a good program. So
I can do a testimony on that. Yeah.
Appreciate that, Adrian.
So
appreciate your help, Tom.
I had just one really quick question. Kind of relates to what Adrian was saying in the beginning. Scarcity versus abundance. What's one tip you can give the people listening now if they're kind of at a point to where they're overcoming that?
I'll tell you one quick, very practical tip, Matt. Carry some friggin' cash in your pocket. I mean, seriously. Mark Victor Hansen, the guy that wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul series of books forever ago, he told me that. He says, always keep in your pocket as much cash as you want to make in a day. And I bought into that. And I used to carry between $5,000 and $10,000 cash in my pocket at any given time. But once the Canadian government outlawed $1,000 bills, it got bloody bulky. so now I usually keep about $1,000 on me at any given time, just in my pocket. And it's amazing. You know what, guys? It's like cash is still king. I don't give a crap where you live in the world. Cash is still king. People say, "Oh, but you could have a plastic card." Yeah, you know what? Do that when the hydro goes out. What are you gonna do with your plastic card then? You ain't buying anything, right? And again, there was something for me tangible about just touching it and feeling it and stuff, right? So that's a very pragmatic, tip that you could use, on a regular basis. But I can tell you that there is a massive scarcity consciousness in the world, and I can see it in others because, I grew up with one. God bless my parents. I love them to death. My dad's 83 years old. He still has a mortgage on his house, for God's sakes. I don't know how you define abundance, but I'm pretty sure having a mortgage in your 80s probably isn't a part of abundance consciousness, right? So I think a lot of times, the psychology, Josh, right, of our mindset is brought into us culturally and by the modeling we have, from our parents, right?
Yep.
So my parents were both just blue-collar, hardworking folks, right? My dad literally was Paul friggin' Bunyan. He was a lumberjack, right? And, lumberjacks make their living in the outdoors. It's probably one of the reasons I love the outdoors so much. But they also, it's a very unpredictable, unstable job because, crazy cold in Canada at times, and then it rains in February, right? And then, there's a floods that happen and forest fires that happen and all kinds of things. So from the entrepreneurial space, my dad struggled at that. And my mom was a secretary at a local high school, So that was kind of the modeling that I grew up with. And so I just knew that there was things I wanted to manifest and accomplish in my life that I needed to confront the programming that I had around money and what it was, right? So there's several great books out there, right, that I'm a big fan of reading. And I'll tell you one, it's a real general book. It's not specifically around money, but the mindset of the power of the human mind. It's my favorite book of all time. I'm literally right now, I'm in the process of rereading it for the 4th time. It's Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. And that book is, I think, just a seminal piece of writing. It's certainly my favorite book of all time, which is why I'm reading it for the 4th time. I will warn people, it's a big read. Okay, it's like, depending upon the print, it's about 1,500 pages. It took her 8 years to write. But literally, I was about 14 or 15 years ago, I was reading a Forbes article on the top books that the top Fortune 500 CEOs would recommend. And literally, Atlas Shrugged was either number 1 or 2 in every Fortune 500 CEO. right? So it talks about the power of the human mind. It talks about the power of the individual to manifest, right? Which is really a piece, a fundamental mindset piece around, abundance, right? But, really another little piece now that I want to be sure I communicate to the audience is that, the amount of money that you manifest in your life is really just a byproduct of how much service you offer humanity, right? So my wife and I have had the privilege of doing quite well financially. Everything is relative. And when you're comparing yourself to an 83-year-old dad with a mortgage, it's not tough to say that, you did a little better. But again, everything's relative. So compared to Bill Gates, I don't have anything. But compared to where I wanted to be at this stage in my life, my wife and I have done well financially. But the thing that excites us the most is that is just a representation of all the value we've added to so many people's lives. Whether it's through my years as a hands-on chiropractor and changing and helping people be healthier and happier and more wellness-oriented, or whether it's as a coach consultant and the literally scrapbooks I have, textbooks I have of the testimonials and the gratitude that the people have given, like Adrian, you offered. That just warms my soul, right? Because I know it's all about exchange, right? It's all about the Ayn Rand talks about the code of the trader, where you're exchanging your service for someone else's service, but the intermediary is money, right? And I can tell you one more book that made a big impact on me. It's dry as Melbatos, so it takes a little bit of courage to get through it. But it's written by a guy named Neil Ferguson, and it's called The Ascent of Money, which literally talks about the origin of money, right, and how it got started. Because, of course, in the old days, we used to barter stuff, right? I would be a chicken farmer, and Adrian would be a wheat farmer, and, I'd give him 3 chickens for a sheaf of oats or wheat so I could make bread. Well, it was kind of confusion. How many chickens are worth of how many things of wheat? So they went to the gold standard, and then eventually went to paper money. That's the very quick version through a 300-page book. But when you understand the history of money, it helps you to understand what it is. And it's just an exchange of energy. It's all it is. So once you help reposition people's minds around that, and they realize what it really is, a lot of the garbage and debris that people have stuck away in their conscious minds, modeled from, parent, teacher, preacher, friends, whatever, once that starts to disintegrate, my experience, people start to get freedom from that baggage. And usually, not always, but usually their productivity skyrockets and their appreciation of what they have skyrockets as well. So that's been my experience in my consulting career.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good for me to hear, for anybody listening, I think also to hear. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next bit in the show. A little bit of comedy, culture comedy, I guess we can call it. And I'm going to find a couple. I got a book of Dutch expressions, and I'm going to pick a couple out, and Josh will translate it, and then you got to guess what it means. It's kind of like the raining cats and dogs. Like, what does it mean?
Okay.
But it's going to be like an expression that the Dutch have. Okay. Voetje. Okay. The subject here is small foot. And the saying is in wit voetje halen. What does that mean in English, Josh?
To get a little white foot.
To get a little white foot.
To get a little white foot with somebody. That's actually where.
Get a little wide foot with somebody?
Like a white, like the white, the color.
Oh, the color white. I thought you said wide as in not narrow.
Yeah.
No, white. Get a little white foot with somebody?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to be totally guessing here, but it sounds a little sexual, actually. I don't know. It's, I'm not sure the context of that, guys. So
It could be.
I'm open to learning about Dutch culture right now.
All right, guys.
Okay.
That's a good mindset.
It means that to be in somebody's favor.
To
Ooh.
be in somebody's favor. Okay, cool. I'll
So,
I'll
like-
have to try that one on my Dutch son-in-law. Dutch heritage son-in-law. Let me be clear.
Anything else it means, Josh? To have somebody's favor, like?
To be in somebody's favor and to so actually they will take more shit of you than somebody else. That's what it means.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Got it.
We're going to pick another one here.
So Matt, I got a white foot, man.
Okay, this one has to do with a door, like a door. So it says, "Mit the door in house fallen."
Yeah. To fall with the door inside your house.
So it means like you fall inside your house and you take the door with you.
Actually, you could say to fall through the door in somebody's house. Even
To
taking the
fall
door
through
with
the
you.
door
Yeah,
in someone's house. That's kind of what it means.
Yeah, that's the translation.
It sounds like you're crashing a party to me. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be a good
Something
one.
like that. Yeah, it's in the right direction.
Right direction. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm picking up a little Dutch culture here from across the internet.
Yeah.
It's good.
It means getting straight to the point without any delay or something like that.
Hmm.
Without any introduction, just skip everything and ask
So,
you.
so no hello,
Don't
no
drink.
nothing. Like a boss
No,
coming in
no.
and say, "Clean the damn floor."
Yeah.
Without hello, how are you?
There's a gentleman I bought some real estate from in the province of Quebec in Canada. It's our French-speaking province, and he had a saying, and the translation was, and I'll try and clean this up a little bit, but he goes, in his good French Canadian accent, he goes, "Dr. Tom, I like to work with you." He says, "We have a saying in French, you don't screw around with the puck."
What?
Using a hockey terminology, right? So
Okay.
I'll clean that up a little bit just for the audience, but yeah, it made me smile.
Awesome. So that's going to be the comedy bit, because I want to get into the next final part of the show, where I got a little box of topics on these little cards here. And we've drawn about a dozen out of here already, and there's probably still 30 left. So if you didn't hear episode number 2 with Dr. Kevin Jarena, then you didn't hear the list. So, and like I said before, you can pass if you just say pass. That's not a good one.
All right, fair. I have a feeling these could be slightly controversial, Matt.
Yeah. And I don't even know what it's going to be. So this is very unscripted for us all.
Love the unscripted nature.
How you feel about religion?
I have the odd opinion about that.
Okay. Is that something you want to go into?
Well, it depends what the question is.
So the controversy behind religion in the world today, and its truths, its falsehoods, and misinformation that we're given on what you know is true and what we've been taught to believe, I guess. Because we all grew up in a different era than it is now. And you grew up even different era than us. And your parents also different. So the changes that I've seen in religion happen since I was a little kid is incredible. So I guess we could go into religion as a controversy as what is religion's agenda for humanity, and has it been tainted? You know?
Wow, that is a broad topic, Matt.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think so.
Let me just, because you asked my opinion, this is just my personal opinion. I think there's a big distinction between someone who's religious and someone who's spiritual, right? Because I would say that I'm not a particularly religious person, even though I grew up in a fundamentalist Christian background, but I'm a deeply spiritual person. And I think we said off camera, but I just spent 30 days at my wilderness lodge where, the wilderness, nature, that's my cathedral. That's my synagogue. That's my church, right? Because one of my friends says, where is God not? But it's just easier for me to see the presence of the universal intelligence that I call God in nature, right? You can see it anywhere, but I see it there easier, right? So, I don't want to whitewash all religions with the same brush, because I don't know all religions, and apparently there's hundreds and hundreds of different variations of them. But I would say that, human beings have an innate desire to understand spiritual things, that's just my observation. And understand the deeper questions of, who am I, why am I here, and where am I going? Right? Those are like the three big questions. And so people had opinions about that, or formed, or there were prophets that came, whether you're talking about Muhammad or Jesus Christ or whatever. There's different prophets that have come and offered interpretations of that. And then my experience with my limited study of religion, I read several books on it, is that people then follow that and they adopt that, but they often take they miss the essence of what I think the teachings are, and they take a lot of the teachings as literal teachings instead of essence teachings, right? And they get all caught up in the dogma and the scripting and the stuff, right? And particularly in the Old English, right? Like one that I have done some research on that is literally the English word love, right? Most confusing freaking word on the planet, right? Because, I'm supposed to love my wife, but I love my wife different than I love my children. And I'm supposed to love my neighbor's wife, but not too much, and it's like, it's the same word. And when I traced it back, this is my own research, I found out that when the monks translated some of the old ancient Hebrew, right, and some of those early writings that the Bible was written in, and they basically took a series of words and they all translated in the same word, love. So you've got agape, which is seeking someone's highest good. They called that love. Philo or philia, which is like brotherly love. They just called the English word love. Eros, the erotic sexual intimacy, they called that love, right? Storge, which is like a community service, neighborly love, they called that love. Well, no wonder we're so freaking confused about the word love, right? Because if you go back to the early writings, the early Greek and Hebrew writings, it was translated by someone's interpretation of that. But then somebody takes that interpretation, and they could or did build a religion around it, right? And then people follow it to the letter of the law. So I would offer this perspective is that, any path to God is a good path, right? But there's been more people killed on this planet over the name of religion because their path to God is different than mine. So different must be wrong. Different isn't necessarily wrong. It's just different, right? And it's when you get into the brutality of organized religion that I think we really cross some sort of a barrier. And to answer another part of the question that you asked, is like, it has been my experience, in my opinion, that there are certain religions that eventually what it boils down to is power and control, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And whoever had the most power and control also had the most money. And so there are religions that I think of, I don't know that they started from that base, but they evolved into a place where it was about power and control. And I think one of the reasons, Matt, we're seeing shifts in that construct in our world is because, we're no longer ignorant peasants who had to have stained glass to tell stories on the cathedrals, right? We have, a much more literate society than we've ever had before. The internet is doing, it has its dark side, but it has also great ways to disseminate information, much like what you guys are doing, right? And so I think we have some more thinking people that are saying, let me just think this through and not just accept what my grandfather, grandmother, mother, father, whatever told me. My journey, Matt, was in my fundamentalist Christian background. I started asking questions at 12 that no one could answer to my satisfaction. And it was like, well, that sucks. Yeah. So, it was my free thinking that turned me into a spiritualist and a way. But if I go back and I have conversations with some of those people, even my father, back into what the essence of what it was, I'm practicing the essence of all that stuff, but I just don't package it under the thing called religion.
Yeah.
So that's my story.
Wow. You sum it up so perfectly because, I've always said that people in, that worship in, various religions, there's a problem when the belief system that's created by this religion is contradicted by the actions of these people. And so all the death, all the destruction because of it, it's a very hypocritical type of situation. And we kind of have to stop. Give people that freedom to practice whatever religion they want, as long as that falls within the golden rule, which sits in all the religions. It's just written differently, like the word love, and defined differently. And if everybody's actions were in coherence and continuity with their beliefs, we wouldn't be dealing with so much death in the world. And that's where it makes me sad because it should have never been that way, and it was.
I concur. I would offer this, Matt, right, is that, everything happens for a reason, that reason serves. So somewhere, like, and it might be a century from now, some of these crazy times that have happened in the last few hundred years, 300, 400, 500 years, I think there'll be some higher order to that I can't see. I'm not wise enough to see it now, but I have trust or awareness that there will be some benefits that will come out of some of that stuff, right? Anyways, I don't call that so much blind faith as to do awareness.
Awareness that, I think everything will come together, and then the diversity that's represented within all the religions will actually, I think, transform into the strength of humanity.
I agree.
And, that's like what you do with your work and the teams you build. And that's kind of our philosophy here with the Intuitive Mind Solutions, is creating the right minds together. And this will lead into our next question as well. But the right minds together can accomplish anything. The potential of cooperation is so incredible that we haven't even tapped into it as humans because of the cultural conditioning construct that is kind of creating a system of sheep, I guess. I don't want to say that word, but people that don't think freely or logically for themselves anymore, that just go ahead with whatever they're told to believe. And if we can take anything away from that, people that are listening, is just be brave enough to be free to think and feel how your authentic self wants to.
Couldn't say it any better. I'll tell you, I'll reference one other book. Matt, I referenced several this call for some reason, but I read one this summer by a guy named Matt Ridley called The Rational Optimist. And he takes some of the things you just said about how the power of the human mind to collaborate and innovate has and always will solve the problems of humanity, right? And he gives, it's a very academic oriented book, so it's a bit dry, but man, I tell you, he's got just a plethora of examples through history, going way back to the Ming Dynasty in China, of times where the human mind has really been the key. And the book I referenced earlier, Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, she talks, that book is all about the power of the human mind. So I couldn't agree with you more, brother.
People got their homework to do, and I'm gonna get that.
On there.
I'm gonna get that audio.
There's 2,000 pages to read.
Yeah. That's after you guys get off this call. You can start that.
Yeah. Adrian, do you have anything to go with the religion thing?
For me, what I always separated it is that the religion as the intention with which it started and the structure. So in the Christian religions, the actual message of Jesus, and then the church by itself, because then the church is actually what brings gathers the power and keep it secret. And that's where for me the whole thing of inferiority and superiority complex is very very concentrated in those structures, actually, because you can talk about Christian religion, but even if you go into Buddhism, you have that too. You have those disconnections and Buddhists that don't want violence for any sentient beings, but wanting to be vegan, but they actually eat meat, and it's kind of a disconnection, really on all planes because of that. And for me, it's very like a religion out of the message of the few people, awakened people that started this movement, has always been very disconnected, because first they're secret. So the more secret we can reveal and bring to the surface, the better, the faster we're gonna heal from those conditionings. And what they want now is keep it secret even more than before, because they feel threatened. those structures. So it's it's secret hierarchy of having people doing all the dirty work, and then all the few people at the top gathering everything, all the money, all the power, and having that. That's where the disconnect is.
Yeah, for sure. I got to throw another book out. I'm just compelled, guys. So I didn't know. Okay, I didn't know. I was like walking the library today, but Houston Smith's The Religions of the World is just a phenomenal summary of the main religions of the world today. And when I read that 20 years ago, it was a game changer for me. So Houston Smith's The Religions of the World, another book to read. Now you got 2,600 pages to read.
Yeah, that's good.
And if you want a few hundred more, can read the Power versus Force of David Hawkins.
Yeah, Hawkins. Yeah, I've seen him speak.
He talks. Well, in this book he talks about the different level of consciousness and different levels of consciousness of the several religions and the ramifications inside those religions. And it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, love that.
What was the name of it, Adrian?
Power versus Force.
Power versus Force. Okay.
Hawkins. He's like a little. I've seen him speak several times. I don't know if he's still with us on the planet, but he's like a little leprechaun of a man, but a brilliant mind.
I think he passed away 20 years ago or something like this.
Yeah.
Even
the
more.
name of that last book, Tom, was what that you said?
Houston Smith is the
the one before that. It was
that was The World's Religions. What was the one? There was one before that.
Yeah.
Neil Ferguson's The Ascent of Money. Did you get that one?
Yeah. Atlas Shrugged.
And then
I know, The Rational Optimist by Matt Ridley.
Yeah.
The Rational Optimist. Yeah, that was a good read this summer.
I consider myself the ideal optimist, the idealistic optimist.
That's good.
I have just real quick a couple. Let's not call them controversies, but maybe they're kind of something for people to think about. My friend's dad had an interesting theory about Jesus and the comparison of the Old and the New Testament. And he said, if you just add Buddhism to the Old Testament, then you have the New Testament. And he theorized that Jesus went to the Buddhist monks and learned quite a bit when he went on his vision quest or whatever. And so that's interesting to contemplate.
Well, that's what they say. Yeah.
Then another friend of mine
India.
is also doing research on the energetic potential of the churches and their locations where they're placed, and how the energy and how the structure is built, and how it can create an energy even with the Earth's electromagnetic field. And he's kind of going from church to church, and he's studying the energetic effects it has. So that's also interesting.
I love that.
That's cool stuff. It's cool stuff.
So the next and last question for you, Tom, is going to be our bonus question. We ask everybody this so we can see what maybe you can kind of fabricate with your answer. Is the question is basically, what do you think the world could use? And it can be something that doesn't exist yet. What do you think the world could use in order to make it a better for the future generations? Like, it can be any tangible thing that the world could use, like if the right minds come together to invent, to create. And this is where your creative side gets to come into play.
Well, the first two words that jumped to mind, Matt, was the world could use more awareness. Because my teacher, I study a lot of indigenous cultures here in North America, and my teacher, Stalking Wolf, who's an Apache medicine man, his writings, I didn't know him personally, but he talks about how awareness is next to spirituality. So one of my little mantra sayings to my kids when they were young is, I said, be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of your surroundings, right? And I used to drive them crazy, and they go, oh, Dad, for God's sakes, would you shut up about that? And then they went out into the world, and they realized how unaware most people are, right? So awareness to me, Matt, goes into a lot of realms, right? It's awareness of yourself and your role in the world and who you are, your authentic self. It's awareness of other and their needs, right? And if people operated from a place of agape love, seeking others' highest good, right? That would, to me, would be that, like, the fundamental mindset shift that I would love to see that the earth could use. Because if you come from that space, Matt, then the innovation and collaboration that's needed, that you guys are promoting with your work as well, the innovation and collaboration we need to solve whatever the world's problems are, whether they're environmental or they're ecological in some ways, or they're population oriented, or they're healthcare oriented, or whatever. I have an awareness, a trust that we can solve those if we just had more awareness of self and others, our role in the world, what we're here to do, what we're not here to do, and then just did our part, right? Mm-hmm. Like, just do your piece. Let other people do their things. Because I got to this point, Matt, with that thinking about anything that's not authentic for me, I'm just being a selfish prick by doing it. Because I'm robbing somebody that truly gets an intrinsic joy out of doing that, whether it's sweeping a floor or painting a car or selling a shoe or whatever it is, right? I'm being a selfish jerk by doing that and robbing somebody else of their, intrinsic joy. And I tell you what, it's not going to be done as well. Quick story. I was at a Prophets Conference where I actually heard David Hawkins speak many years ago in Palm Springs, California. And I went to the local Starbucks store to get to get my morning coffee. And the barista there was really a sharp young girl. And by the third day, I'm just walking in at around the same time. She's already got my drink ready. And I tell you what, it was the same drink I've had all over the world. But I tell you what, there was just something special about that. And I said to her, I said, you love what you do, don't you? And she young girl, she kind of blushed and she goes, actually, yeah, I do. It's not anything special. I said, no, it's special. Because I said, this coffee is made with something extra, something special, something from within you. I said, I'm going to bet you're very good at your job. And she kind of smiled and she goes, proudly, she goes, actually, I was Starbucks Southwestern United States Employee of the Year last year. And I went, it shows, sweetheart, it shows, right? Because when you're doing something that you feel or organically and authentically driven to do, and you have the awareness of that, and you're willing to have the courage to do that and learn how to do that and learn how to do it better and better and let other people do the things that they're driven to do, man, I really do think, Matt, this little green and blue planet would spin easier on its axis. In every fiber of my being, I know that to be true.
So we got to get this program started, and we got to incorporate it and integrate it into the schools.
Yes, sir.
As young as possible, and then we can get their gifts that people have, and that's kind of the solution I think that we could create around it. So just now we manifest it, we start the flame.
Yeah.
And then somebody listens to this down the road and they say, hey, I have the infrastructure to do that at this school. One school does it, shows the results of what happens afterwards, and then it spreads. And
I'll tell you, the environment, at least in this part of the world in Canada, Matt, the environment is ripe for that. Because the public school system, I have two of my daughters and their husbands are teachers or educators, and the system in Canada is failing badly, miserably. And the parents know it. It's changed even in my daughter's lifetimes. They're in their 20s now. The school system has changed. It's literally, catch this, they now provide Kevlar gear for the teachers in the classrooms, even the young kids, the primary juniors, because teachers aren't allowed to touch children, they're not allowed to hug them, they're not allowed to correct them, they're not even allowed to protect themselves. If a kid goes crazy in a class and starts physical violence, all they can do is put the Kevlar gear on and hope the kid stops smashing at him, throwing books at him, or as my daughter had last year, kids threw a desk at her.
Wow.
And there's no children learning at that point. Learning has stopped. So there's a big window open here in Canada, and I'm assuming other parts of the world, for a true education system, a true school of learning from above down, inside out to happen. Coming as a serial entrepreneur, I think it's a great entrepreneurial opportunity there. But bigger picture, I think it's also just going to be good for the world to have people really take ownership of the essence of who they are.
Yeah. So we could have drew the education card out too, and I think we just handled that.
You got a 2-for-1, Matt.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm living in the Netherlands, and that's always good.
Can I add a little story to that? To the education. I saw the documentary a few years ago. I think it's on Netflix on Snowden.
Yes.
It was done by I don't remember the director. She's a woman. I learned that she went to a school when there's teachers actually are just here to help the children when they need it. Otherwise, they just completely choose what they do. what they want to learn, what the activities they want to learn. And I learned that woman, if I'm not mistaken, she learned how to read at 15
Wow.
years old. Otherwise, before that, she was, I don't know if she was drawing or doing math or something else, but she started to learn to read at 15.
Wow.
So, and who she is now and the success she certainly has has nothing to do with the type of education she has.
Yeah, no question. That's self-directed
certainly
learning.
not related to the classical education.
Yeah,
That's for sure. Yeah.
And the brain wires itself differently if it's given the opportunity to. And they're conditioning us to have our brain wired in a way that's just yes, sir. Okay, sir. I'll do whatever I have to do. I will memorize this. I will take a test on that. And then you lose that's the beginning of losing your authentic self.
It is. It really is, Matt, right? It creates good little soldiers, but it doesn't create very free-thinking people.
And that's just a big challenge to everybody in the world, even, people listening. Just challenge everything you hear and ask questions and be a free thinker. And sometimes it's not easy because you feel alone, but there's support structures built to support you with this, like Tom's program.
Absolutely.
And to know that you're not alone, and to, when the more people come out and start to speak their truth, then we're going to have bigger changes. And I think the situation in the world today, if people did this, it could change the dynamic and change the whole narrative of it if people stop listening to everything they see on the news. Do your own research and ask questions about what is the end goal of this, because it's going to be too late.
Well, Jim Rohn, I shot a quick video yesterday. I know we got to wrap this up now, but I shot a quick video yesterday. Jim Rohn had a great quote, who's Tony Robbins' teacher, as most people know. He said, stand guard at the entrance of your mind every day, right? In other words, be careful about what it is that you let into your mind. So I haven't watched a full TV newscast in over 30 years because I found it to be biased, extremely focused on the negative, and driven by, big business and political agendas. And so it's like, well, that's not truth. So why would I bother? Right. And so I just haven't allowed that to enter my mind. Right. Yeah. And people say, well, oh my God, how do you know what's not going on in the world? And I say, if something is really important, someone's going to tell me, right? There's lots of communication pathways, right? I don't have to, at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, just before I go to bed, have all that nonsense come into my mind and then pollute my subconscious mind. So I agree, Matt. People need to be careful of what they, Jim Rohn was wise. Stand guard at the end of your mind every day.
Yeah. And then we got to develop the program Authenticity 101 to 1,000,001.
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
So we got to wrap this up. We've taken your time, and thank you for your time. It was a great show. Josh was having some technical difficulties with this on his side, so he had to say goodbye early. He sent me a message to say goodbye and say it was great to have you on our show.
It's an honor. And Matt, I want to be clear. Thank you so much for your kind words. But this is an investment for me, right? An investment of time with some people that I enjoy spending time with, and I support what you guys are up to. So, I couldn't, I couldn't not be here. Let's put it that way. And you know what? If there's some people out there that would love to hear more about what it is we do and how we could help them get to what it is that they truly authentically want to do and the business that comes from that, I'd be happy to chat with them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And everything, we're going to put a little recap of the show afterwards.
Cool.
In all the, how do you say that? The podcasting programs that we're connected to. Still learning how to get it on iTunes. They rejected us the first time, so we're going to try again after this one.
Cool.
So, as we say at the end of all of our shows, stay relaxed, everybody, and thank you again, Tom, for coming on our show.
It's a pleasure and an honor, Adrian, Matt.
Yeah. Thank you. Great to see you again.
You as well, Adrian.
And greetings to Coach Fraser.
I will be.
From my part.
I will pass that along, Adrian.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
All right.